Welcome back. I'm Elaine Reyes. The heart of the U.S. tech industry first got its nickname back in 1971 from a series of articles in electronic news. Silicon Valley is world-renowned for its high concentration of high-tech companies, engineers, and venture capitalists. From Hewlett-Packard to Apple, Google to Facebook, some of America's most iconic companies were born there, then grew into multi-billion-dollar powerhouses. Despite the static economy around the world, Silicon Valley keeps innovating and creating jobs. America's Now contributing correspondent Mark Niu takes a look at its recipe for success and very often its failures.
It is the place that regularly dreams up the world's most popular products.
Why is iPad so phenomenally successful?
The place that produces some of the youngest millionaires and billionaires.
Our mission at Facebook is to make the world more open and connected.
And the place where innovation pushes the boundaries.
This is a really new technology.
Silicon Valley is not a city, but rather a good portion of the southern region of the San Francisco Bay Area. Despite the U.S. economic downturn, Silicon Valley added more than 42,000 jobs last year to what is widely viewed as the largest startup ecosystem in the world. One newcomer to that ecosystem is Foodie Direct. Like so many startups in Silicon Valley, it's attempting to deliver something novel.
And here's the main event, the Norwegian salmon and the New York bagels.
Specialty smoked salmon from Sable's in New York, delivered overnight to California through Foodie Direct.
Very tasty.
The idea, says founder and CEO Brad Koenig, is to find the finest regional foods in America and make them accessible with a click of the button to anywhere in the country.
This is really a virtual restaurant row. So I had this idea to create this marketplace where passionate food lovers could go and they could discover and browse and shop and order from top restaurants, bakeries, and specialty food shops around the country.
Koenig was formerly one of Silicon Valley's top bankers at Goldman Sachs, having helped companies like Yahoo and eBay go public. In fact, he sees parallels with eBay and Foodie Direct, because it opens up a larger national marketplace for both sellers and buyers. With so many startups headed by entrepreneurs in their 20s, I asked the 55-year-old founder whether his age and experience will help or hurt in this venture. He says neither.
In Silicon Valley, nobody cares how old you are or what you look like or where you're from, as long as you have a great idea and great execution. It's the strongest meritocracy in the world.
Foodie Direct is just a few minutes' drive from the city of Menlo Park's famous Sand Hill Road, home to the most active venture capital firms in the world. Silicon Valley is where nearly 40% of the nation's venture capital is located. And it's perhaps the best place to incubate ideas. Numerous accelerator and incubator programs provide office space, support staff, and money in return for an equity stake. And even more importantly, like here at Incubator 500 Startups, entrepreneurs get a chance to go before investors and sell their ideas.
All right, how's everyone doing today? I want to tell you about DealFlix. I'm one of the co-founders. Like Dave said, we get butts in movie theater seats.
Since we launched last year, we've got more than 5 million downloads organically.
And I am here today to tell you about Spanish-speaking women. And what do I know about them?
Dave McClure is the co-founder of 500 Startups.
The thing I think it's probably more the area that we're trying to disrupt is the business school environment. Why should you go to business school and pay someone $100,000 a year to read a case study? Why don't we let us give you $50,000 to $100,000 to go build a case study? If you fail, you'll still learn something, and if you succeed, maybe you create a business that gives you an interesting opportunity.
McClure himself was rejected by the prestigious Stanford Business School, a place he is now often invited to speak. He's known as a super angel investor, having advised hundreds of startups and invested more than $40 million in startup ventures. Another important way he helps is by bringing in mentors to share experiences, like Dave Goldberg, CEO of the world's largest online survey company, SurveyMonkey.
That failure is actually okay. And so I know all of you are sitting there saying, I'm not going to fail, and that's the right attitude, but it's actually okay if you do. And in fact, you know, one of the things I love doing is hiring people who had a failed startup, backing people who failed at a startup. It's not a bad thing to fail.
That mantra is spreading, especially since startups from all over the world take that advice and bring it back to their home countries. In San Jose, Victor Wong, president of Hanhai Investment, runs one of the largest U.S.-China incubators in Silicon Valley.
In China, if you had a failure, you try to avoid it. But here in the States, you just can tell straightforward that I had 2 startups that failed. But as an incubator or an investor, we will treasure this experience, which means he or she can learn from their past failure. That will be very helpful for his or her coming venture.
Hanhai also works with Z Park Venture, a venture fund focusing on early-stage startups. Larry Lee is the founding partner of Z Park Venture.
In Silicon Valley, in a sense, you don't have to know somebody. As long as you work hard, doing well, somebody will find you. But in China, I think the connection is much more important. Yeah, you have to know whom you talk to and how you talk to them, and all kinds of social and economic rules that you have to follow. In Silicon Valley, there are not a lot of rules, and actually we like people who break the rules. That's how you can get the disruptive technology out there.
One of the startups at the incubator is Narvalis, the creator of the popular Chinese video game V-Cruise. Narvalis is now building a cross-cultural platform to help Chinese games monetize in the U.S. Narvalis just helped the Chinese game Wartune multiply its Facebook revenue by 10 times in just 2 months. What founder Tony Xu believes following the "don't be afraid to fail" mantra is harder in China because entrepreneurs often risk their own savings, unlike here, where convertible loans allow startups to borrow money in return for equity stakes.
Pretty much in China, you are starting the company on your own money, and probably convertible loan is not very popular in China. But here, convertible loan or some other funding structure can protect the entrepreneurs from failing heavily.
Another incubator startup, TrustLook, is working on cutting-edge software that detects malware before anyone knows about it. Alan Zhang says Silicon Valley is one of the only places that allows him to easily access talent, support staff, and PR teams, so that he can just focus on the most important aspect, the product.
I can coding like 10 hours a day. That's the difference. That's the thing I like. I want to do that. I'm really good about that. So I don't want to spend a lot of time to other stuff is not important for the company. You just work on your solutions, A lot of guys will help you to bring your company to the destination.
And that destination will only be reached by a small percentage, though a recent study says Silicon Valley gives tech companies the best chance. The Startup Genome Project found that proportionally 22% more companies in Silicon Valley make it to the scale stage than in New York City, and 54% more than in London. The same study also found that Silicon Valley company founders had started twice as many companies, and that 30% more of them were motivated by hopes of somehow changing the world.